If this is your first time watching one of my reviews, I suggest you watch the introduction, which teaches you what I do to review games, why I review games, and what aspects I try to objectively view when I review games. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Hi, I'm PeedMont, and welcome to yet another YouTube board game review channel. But I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. I've been playing board games for about 25 years. Ever since I was able to roll dice, I basically played board games. Some of my fondest memories revolve around playing board games in first grade. My favorite being the game Dungeon, a classic kind of very light version of D&D for kids. It was amazing. With this upbringing came tons of experience playing board games. My family was avid game players. So, every year around Christmas time, we got into this tradition of buying a new board game. And in doing so, I started to do something a little bit weird. I wanted to pick the most perfect board game for our family. So I put together this spreadsheet that started to rate things that we liked about games, trying to come up with what it was that we liked and how I could predict in the future what games we might like. In doing so, I came up with this rating system that seemed to be a little bit more objective rather than subjective. A lot of the great board gaming websites that are on the internet right now have a very simple 1 to 10, do you like this game kind of rating system. And while that's great, and I agree that the most important thing about rating games is whether or not you like it, I think there's more to it than that, and you can start to tease apart what you like about games and what you don't like. For me, playing games is about flexing my mental muscle. Since this is the first video, I'm going to break down each of the variables that I consider when I put together this objective game review. First, of course, is fun. This is what many of the websites kind of base their reviews on. Is a game fun? And of course that is most important. But, like I said, there's more to it. For me, fun is ranked on a scale of 1 to 10, and it is the most heavily weighted variable of the equation. Next is strategy. I also value strategy in a game. So for me, if the strategy adds value, adds fun to the game, that's how I base my rating. This also is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. The next category is ease, which I rate on a scale of 1 to 5. And that's basically just how easy is it to pick up, learn how to play, and come back and play again later. Some games can get unbelievably complicated rules, and that's not a bad thing, but sometimes it detracts from me wanting to play it later because I can't remember how to play it, or the rules are so complicated that I couldn't figure it out in the first place. Next is replayability. I rate replayability on a scale of 1 to 5, and this is just a way for me to kind of rate how much I want to come back and play it again. Some games, again, I love, but are super long, and after playing one, I'm kind of drained after playing it, and I don't really feel the need to pick it up and play again within the next week, month, or maybe even a year. And I think that takes away from some games sometimes. Next is randomness, which I rate on a scale of -1 to -5. For me, this is kind of doubling up on the strategy part, but there are some games that have a lot of strategy and are still random. Think Settlers of Catan or something like that. But if the game's completely random, I don't think that's good game design, and it makes me angry because, again, I'm looking for something that I can think about and work around. Setup, which I rate also on a scale of -1 to -5. Some games really brought this out for me. The game Castles of Burgundy takes forever to set up, and it's a mess. And for me, that, again, takes away from the game. I don't think that's as good a game, and it might be able to design around some of these aspects. Similarly, some of these little short card games, you set them up, ready to play, boom, 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 out of your backpack, out of your purse, wherever. I think that's great. Cost. I also rate my games based on cost. Again, some games I love, like collectible card games, or HeroClix, miniature games, are amazing, but the cost to get into them is astronomical. And that's a bummer to me, because I've shied away from a lot of games just because the cost of entering into them or playing competitively is so high. Players. I rate players on a scale of 1 to 5, and it's kind of gotten weird for me, because when this started, I was looking for games that would accommodate our family, which was 6 players. So for me, a 5 on the scale would have been something that works with 6 or more players out of the box. But now that I've moved away and have my own family, I'm now looking for games that work well with 2 players all the way up to 6. So this has got a little more wiggly. Theme. Of course, theme kind of gets rolled in with fun, but I think a good theme can add to a game, or a poor theme can take away from the fun of the game. Theme I rank on a scale of 1 to 5, and this incorporates things like art and components. Quality, I also rank on a scale of 1 to 5. Quality for me is how good are the pieces. Is it flimsy? Is that Summoner Wars playmat made out of paper or nice cardboard? Are those cards thick and durable, or are they flimsy? And finally, the last one is a category I call duration, basically how long the game takes to play. And for me, this doesn't directly affect the end scoring, even though it's on a scale of 1 to 5. A long game that's fun gets a bonus, so there's a multiplier in there that if it has high fun value and is long, it gets some bonus points. And the flip side of that, if the game is long and is very random, you lose more points for that. I can't stand the game Settlers of Catan because the game, it takes a long time, and a lot of it is based on that luck of the roll. And sometimes you can just sit there and be unlucky for so long. Whereas a game like Love Letter is also very luck driven. You hope you get that card, or maybe you get the Minister and get knocked out. But that game's over in 4 minutes, so if I get boned from a bad luck, I'm not angry about it because the game's over and I can start a new one in a couple minutes. This is just a quick video screen capture of my score distribution. As you can see, the majority of the games get about a 60% because I feel if you're going to put all this time into a game, they're actually pretty good. From there, it drops down to there are not very many 90s, few 80s, and then a lot of my games I'm giving in the 70s. These are the games that I really like, keep in my collection, and play a lot. And then from the other end, things nice gradually drop down to 0. For my first video, I'm going to review the card game Lost Cities by game designer Reiner Knizia. Lost Cities has a unique mix of luck and strategy, and the interesting points about the game are its oversized card deck and the unique artwork on each card. Lost Cities has been called the quintessential couples game, as it's a perfect way to kill 30 minutes with a sibling, friend, or partner. The game itself consists of one game board, one deck of oversized cards, and the rulebook. The deck is primarily comprised of cards numbered 2 to 10 in 5 different colors. Additionally, there are 3 investment cards for each color, which are indicated by a handshake symbol in the upper left corner. The object of Lost Cities is accumulate points from expeditions. Players can go on as few as 1 or as many as 5 expeditions, 1 for each color, playing cards in sequential order. Players may start an expedition with an investment card, which are essentially high-risk, high-reward cards, but cannot play them after a numbered card has been played. An expedition that has 1 handshake will double the points it's earned. Expeditions that have 2 or 3 handshakes will triple or quadruple the number of points they've earned. To begin the game, each player is dealt 8 cards. The player who goes first can do one of 2 things. They can start an expedition by laying a colored card in front of his side of the board next to the corresponding color space. Or they can discard an unwanted card to the board space matching that card's color. On succeeding turns, players can add cards to existing expeditions, the only rule being that the card must be higher than cards previously played, but does not have to be consecutive. The players take turns doing this, then drawing 1 card from the draw pile, or a previously discarded card at the end of their turn, until the draw pile is gone. If a player chooses to draw from the discard pile, they may only draw the top card of that corresponding color pile. At the end of a round, expeditions adding up to more than 20 will yield points, while those that fall short will yield negative points. In this case, we first add up the blue column, which equals a total of 16. We subtract the 20, and we end up with a total of negative 4. As on the green column, add up this column, and we end up with a total of 30. Subtract the 20, and you end up with 10 points. After the last card of the draw pile is gone, the round is over. Players add their points from their expedition, subtracting 20 from each pile, and any stack that contains 8 or more cards gets an additional 20-point bonus. Players can choose to play as many rounds as they'd like, 3 being the most popular. For me, Lost Cities gets a fun score of 8. It is a very fun game that I come back to and play with my partner basically once a week. For strategy, I give it a score of 6. While there is opportunity for strategy, it is still a card game, so you are often just working with what you have. There are always times where you can draw quickly from the deck to try and run it out so that your opponent can't play something, or pick up that key piece that they've discarded earlier, but still again you are working with the card game. For ease, I gave Lost Cities a score of 5. Very simple. The only difficult part is the scoring with the minusing 20 after you adding stuff up, but otherwise it's a quick read through the rulebook, grab and play, very simple. For replayability, I gave Lost Cities a score of 3, which is right in the middle. It's definitely not a deep game that you'll try and think about strategy and want to try new things, but whenever the mood strikes to play a quick, fun card game, we always go for this. For randomness, I give it a -3, which is right in the middle, which is kind of what you expect for a card game like this. There are times where a bad hand can really hinder you, but there are always strategies that you can apply to try and minimize that, or still turn a bad hand into a good round. As far as setup is concerned, Lost Cities gets a -1. It's really just a deck of cards, you put out the board, shuffle, deal. Simple. As far as cost is concerned, I gave Lost Cities a -2, which is a little high typically for a card game, but it's a Reivew Knizia game, so it comes in right about $17 to $20. It does come with a nice board to organize your cards and the oversized cards to play with, but it's still a little bit expensive for a simple card game. For theme, I gave Lost Cities a score of 3, which is right in the middle. It is just a simple card game, but the artwork and the fact that you're going on these expeditions and making these investments with the investment cards does draw you in a little bit more than maybe a normal card game would. For quality, I gave Lost Cities a score of 2. It is just a basic card game. It does come with a nice playmat and the oversized cards, but the oversized cards run into an issue because I like to sleeve some of my games, especially ones I play a lot, and because of this kind of random size, I can't find any that'll actually work with it. Players, obviously I gave players a score of 2. It can only be played 2-player, which isn't a bad thing, and it works very well. In short, Lost Cities is a great 2-player card game, especially if you're looking to get somebody new into card games, or play a game with a spouse who is not much of a gamer. It scores a 76% on my scale, and I highly recommend